Hello there. This is GNS103 Information Literacy. OMONIGHO, Israel is my name. I am the facilitator for this course. We've been looking at serial publications, so we're looking at the concluded part of it, which is studies, section 3, unit 2, factors affecting production of cereals. Now, we want to see some things that can affect how cereals are produced. The decision to select a particular cereal over another should be based on the relevance of that cereal, especially journals, to satisfy the information needs of library users. This implies that when the appropriate cereal is selected, is ordered, and eventually acquired, this will translate to high use of such cereal, which will justify the cost of purchasing or subscribing to that cereal by that library. Therefore, the selection of a cereal must be cost beneficial to library users, reflecting that even though the cereal is expensive, it is relevant to meet the information needs of library users. So let us see some of these factors that can affect the production of cereals. One, the information needs of the library users. The information needs of the library users. The essence of acquiring or subscribing to cereals in a library is to provide information materials that are relevant to users to satisfy their information needs. Therefore, it becomes imperative to consider what type of information the users need. Okay, so it's good for us to also consider the category of users, okay, that will need these cereals so as to select relevant materials that will be useful to them. Now, it's good for us to also know the reputation of the author. We're looking at the reason why people will want to use a particular kind of cereal. So we've said the needs of the users will determine whether this cereal will be used. We are not saying that the author's reputation too has a role it will play in deciding whether such cereals will be used more or used less. So it's important to know the people that contributed to the intellectual content of the cereal to ascertain whether these so-called authors are competent in terms of knowledge. So the knowledge of the knowledge level of the contributors, they matter to determine whether users will patronize such cereals or not. Then the subject coverage, how much did it cover? How much did it cover? Did it cover as much as it should have, or it just maybe talk lightly on that subject? This is how we know, because when users begin to use these materials, they will eventually know. Okay, this journal is quite robust, and they will access it from time to time. But if it doesn't have in-depth coverage of that subject, it's likely that users will not want to use it much. Okay, cost benefits. Yes, how expensive the cereal is also determines how much uh, users will access them. Now, the editor or the editorial board membership. This is relevant to scholarly journals where the composition of the editor and the member of the editorial committee and the organizational affiliation are listed within the journal. The composition of these individuals is a guide to indicate their competence in terms of educational qualification and knowledge in producing the journal. So if we have a very seasoned board membership of editors, it will also increase patronage of the use of these cereals. So another thing that can affect the use of cereals or the production of cereals is the format availability. Does that cereal, is it just in print form, or does it have an electronic version? Because when a cereal has got multiple ways by which users can access them, it makes such cereals or such journals popular. People want to use them, especially if they are available in more than one format. Okay, now the price of a cereal matters. Usually cereals are very expensive. I guess not only just because of the quality of what is used in producing them, but also the will I say the content. If it's well updated from time to time, oh my God, everybody want to get it because they know it will contain latest trends in that subject area. But if not, you find people not wanting to, patronize such journals or such series. Then, because that one too now determines how costly it will become. But for some people, they don't mind, no matter the price, as long as I can get what I want from it, fine. But we are saying from a general perspective that the price can affect the production of cereals. Now, the place of publication too also is a strong factor to consider when selecting cereals for the library. Now, for some libraries, they may decide to select locally, the ones published locally, okay, because it should be cheaper, you know. But then, um, acquiring cereals that are foreign based also helps to enrich the intellectual content of the cereals collection, of the cereals unit in the library. Criteria in selecting electronic cereals. What do we need to take note of when we want to select electronic journals? One, the quality and the content of the cereal. This involves checking for the credibility in terms of knowing whether it is well peer reviewed, indexed, and how available it is in what? In multiple internet sites, in multiple formats, how comprehensive the contents are. You know, these are the things that will determine how quality that cereal is. And it helps to be sure that it scores high in these areas I've mentioned so that it will be selected. Access. Will this cereal, will it be available all the time? Because we have to think about that. Is it accessible? It also determines how people select, particularly libraries, how they select this cereal for their use in the library. The cost. Hope it's not so expensive. The cost of the electronic journal or cereal needs to be considered in line with the benefit. If it's so expensive and it's less beneficial to the users, what's the point selecting and acquiring them? So the serious librarian has to consider the initial cost and the ongoing charges for updates and annual subscription fees, the downloading charges, the customization charges, and be sure that it will pay off when they eventually get these serious. Because if users don't get them to use, or they are not they don't patronize them, it's of no use getting them into the library. Another criteria for selecting cereals, especially electronic cereals, is a legal issue. We need to take that into consideration because these resources, such as cereal publications, when they are being selected, the issue of copyright has to be sorted out, the licensing agreement, the fair use, the preservation, and the production, so that at the end of the day, the library will not be found as violating copyright laws. Are there advantages of using electronic cereals? Yes. Now, statistic usage always show because it's electronic. It tends to show us how many people use these serials or these journals from time to time. The speed, an electronic serial is a lot quicker to browse or search or to extract information from, okay, and to integrate that information into another material or to cross search or reference among different publications. Yes, it does help. That's an advantage. Functionality. Yes, electronic serials will allow the users to approach the publications to analyze its contents in new ways by clicking of mouse or in the search mode. It's easier to access them. The content, the electronic serials can contain a vast amount of information, but more importantly, the material can consist of mixed media. That means there can be images, there can be video or audio animation, which of course we can't get on print paper if we were to have the print version of that serial or that journal. Now, the savings of the physical space for a library that is very small, doesn't have much space, you see electronic serials will be of tremendous help because they will not need to have to get space or create space to save them. It's on digital space. So subscription for such helps libraries to save space. Then the convenience. It's convenient, it can be accessed over the internet. The user does not need to physically visit the library to use electronic journals. And this is very useful for users who stay in remote areas, and all they need to do to just access such serials or journals is to have them downloaded from their systems. Now, is there a disadvantage? Of course, there are disadvantages in using them because sometimes you can have a device that is not updated, and sometimes some of these serials, by the time they are downloaded, they don't open. So it could be a real big problem when these serials are much more updated than the devices we are using. Now, electronic serials reading devices are surely expensive, if not more expensive than printed books. So you would always make sure that what you have is updated or upgraded enough. Then also you need power. You need electricity to access electronic information. And in a place where there's always power outage or power trouble, it may be difficult to do that. Now, sometimes in staring at the screen, our phones or the computer, it can cause what screen glare, it can cause eye strain, and that can be a problem, you know. So, but then reading from the computer too is not like reading from the book. It lacks the familiarity and the comfort of reading from a book. You know, a paper book can be open, you can flip through, you can lie down, you know, you can take any position while you're holding a book to read, but you really can't do that with the system. So that can be a challenge, you know, can be a difficulty. Now, electronic serials have an unreliable lifespan. Paper has a much longer lifespan than most digital forms of storage because of the rapid development of new computer systems. It is difficult to judge whether the software or the hardware will become outdated. So as new hardware is developed, structures must be put in place to allow for migration of existing materials to new platforms so that they can still be accessed. So it means that we will always have the means to be doing this. Now, another thing that can be a challenge is that many titles that are available in traditional print books are yet to be available in electronic book format. We can have the print form, but we may not quickly get them in the electronic form. New technologies always require time, experience, and money in order to take full advantage of its capabilities. So these are things that can be challenges in using serials. Nevertheless, serials can be very, especially electronic serials, they are wonderful tools to use when the resources are available. So this is a summary of the factors that affect the production of users. And this is bringing this unit to a close. We hope that we learned one or two things from the lesson. Thank you very much for listening.